I think there's more opportunities that are showing themselves as far as like growth goes, and whether that's from a business standpoint and financial levels to just like internal growth for employees, so that I didn't want to have a place where people could work there for a year and then they get bored and then they have to go find something else.
Yeah.
They top out. There's nothing for me to learn here. There's no financial incentives for me to stay here. There's no opportunity for me to learn a new thing within restaurant structure. So I think it pushed us pretty quickly to a point where like we decided to choose growth so that we could continue to grow a team and grow the company. And so all of those being the positives of like what's going well is also where it's tricky and it's a struggle, because the biggest part about that is finding the right people to make all that happen. So I think the key right now is trying to develop like the right leadership team, and with that it just means it's a heavier workload on the few of us that are in those leadership roles now to really dial in like how do we train, how do we talk about food, how do
Delegate.
what does it mean to be truly offering good hospitality rather than just good service.
What's up, everybody? This episode is sponsored by ExitWise. If you're a business owner thinking about selling your company, whether that's now or years down the road, you need to know what your business is actually worth and how to maximize that exit. That's exactly what ExitWise does. They help you prepare, position, and ultimately sell your business by assembling a world-class team of M&A experts around you, guiding you from valuation all the way through closing. If you want to know what your business is really worth and how to increase that number before you sell, go check out exitwise.com and get ahead of it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I am very, very excited for this episode today. I am here with the one and only Matt Dulin. He is the owner and founder of the best bakery, pastry shop, pizza. They serve pizza as well that you will find in all of Denver, Colorado. I can promise you that. It is the owner at GetRight's, Matt Dulin. Thanks for joining the show, Matt.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for that intro. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, I found you just from going to your restaurant. I've stood in line for 20 to 30 minutes at a time several times now. So I would love to know from you. So when did y'all first start GetRight, and what's sort of the creation story there?
Yeah, so the actual business was made in 2020. So February 2020 is when it started the LLC. I was actually looking for a way out of restaurants at the time. So the original LLC was set up so I could start a cactus nursery in a greenhouse in my backyard.
Oh, interesting.
I was a sous chef at the time at Uncle, the ramen restaurant here in Denver. I had just came back from California, Arizona, from some failed relationships, and to say that they kind of fell apart from restaurants would be pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So in Colorado, I was kind of like going back into one, I was returning home, but two, I was kind of like going back into that routine of working too many hours for someone else. And as nice as it was over there, I was kind of ready to like get out and start doing my own thing, whatever that meant. So I tried to get out of restaurants by starting a cactus greenhouse, because I would buy cactus cuttings from Etsy, and I figured I could do the same thing. Anyways, started that. Quickly realized that it was very hard to sell cactus online. No one was buying it. I didn't know how to market. Didn't have an audience. And then COVID happened. And then when COVID happened, restaurants got really weird and kind of took away the whole personal connection that was keeping me in the restaurants and keeping me enjoying restaurants, And at the same time, everyone was kind of like huge on cottage baking, right? So once we found out that I could bake legally from my house and sell food from my house, it kind of opened up this like cool pivot point. So I kind of took that as an opportunity to start baking bread from our house. To give you a professional history, I'd been cooking for, I think, 18 years at that point. All as a savory cook, though, never in pastry, never in baking. I just baked bread kind of as a hobby for the last, 7, 8 years leading up to that.
Mm.
So I had the confidence to do it. I sold breads on the side to friends and family on occasion. So once I saw that there was an outlet to do this legally from the house, I was just like, let's just go for it. So we started selling bread from the house. I kind of gutted my whole kitchen and turned it into this little tiny production facility out of a 600 square foot house. We just like tore down a wall. I brought in some ovens. I made my wife very unhappy for a couple months as the house turned into a restaurant. And then I don't know, somehow it got traction little by little. We got into a farmer's market and we just sold breads and cactus plants on a table. It went really well for a couple weeks, and then after that, no one wanted bread anymore. So then we realized that people at markets wanted like a pastry right then.
Mm-hmm.
So then I brought a cookie, a coffee cake, and a little like a galette, which is like a little handheld pie essentially. And it brought more people in. And then once the people came up to the table, they'd hear the story, then they'd leave with a pastry, a plant, and a piece of bread. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh man, the bread was the soul, but pastry is the way. Like this sugar, that's the way to make this financially viable. So then it was a quest to like dive into the world of pastry and learn pastries. And then so just one thing after another, week after week, and we slowly kind of built this pastry program within it. And then we just kind of repeated that process at farmers markets and pop-ups for 2 years.
Wow.
Built up a reputation enough to where essentially at every pop-up we were getting to the point where we were hitting our minimum average number of people we would need for our business plan to be like a viable option to like show proof of concept. So at the time it was like we need 60 customers a day to make that $2,000 to $3,000 mark per day to make this like a business that would actually work. And then when we started hitting that and averaging that on every single pop-up that we did, my wife and I just decided that like that was the confidence enough to say that we should do this here in Denver. So we started looking for spaces outside of the house because we also wanted a house back, right? Mm-hmm. And then we leased the space in Wheat Ridge, I think in 2022, but we didn't open until 2023. So May of 2023 is when we officially opened at the Wheat Ridge location, and then we've been rocking there since then, and slowly increasing each year with like our offerings and just overall sales and capacity to like feed more customers, which has been pretty cool to see that it's growing. The amount that it's grown in the last few years is like mind blowing. Like I would never have imagined it.
It is wild. Y'all are so busy.
It's insane because the original goal was just like me, my wife, and maybe like 2 people to help. And the goal was like have like a simple, humble offering where we just kind of like did our own little bakery thing in the morning, and then we had time off in the afternoon, and it's been very different from that.
Yeah.
From the start. So it's good, but it's crazy to manage and crazy to handle for sure.
This episode is brought to you by Pierre Tax and Accounting, led by CPA Eric Pierre, a seasoned accounting and tax expert with years of experience helping individuals and businesses navigate complex financial landscapes. Whether you need personal tax planning, business tax strategy, bookkeeping, or financial planning support, Eric and his team are committed to helping you protect and grow your financial future with clarity and confidence. To get expert guidance you can trust, check out Pierre Tax and Accounting at pierreaccounting.com. This episode is brought to you by my friend Silas Lagoy over at ForgeMark Wealth. If you're a high-income business owner or professional and feel like you're getting crushed by taxes, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not stuck. ForgeMark Wealth specializes in advanced legal tax strategies and wealth planning designed to help you keep more of what you make, grow it efficiently, and actually build long-term freedom, not just income. If you're making serious money but don't have a real strategy behind it yet, I highly recommend connecting with Silas and his team.
I think one of the things that attracted me to y'all so much was 3 of my favorite things in the world are pastry, a breakfast sandwich, and a piece of pizza. And you guys do all three.
Nice.
I would be curious to know, because I think that's a fantastic idea. You can find pastry shops that sell pastries or other sweet treats or whatever. I had never seen personally a place that also did pizza with pastries. I think that's a brilliant idea. So maybe talk to me about what did that process look like, and how are y'all making your pizza so good? It's a thin, flaky crust, and I feel like I haven't tasted anything like it.
Right. Yeah, I think again, I think one thing that I always try to like tell first off, like all the people who work for us, but second off, like if people ask questions about the shop, it's like it's a bakery through a savory cook's perspective, because I have no idea how to run a bakery or a pastry shop, like zero idea. So if you walk in and you try to assimilate a bakery lifestyle into this restaurant, like it doesn't fit, because there's so many other applications that have to happen within it. So I've had to learn like the bakery piece after like the savory programs essentially. So it's been super easy for me to like reformat savory offerings throughout the day, and it's actually harder to like figure out how to like apply pastry stuff into the mix. But the pizza essentially started off kind of just as a byproduct of our baguette dough in the beginning. In the beginning, we did like 2 breakfast sandwiches. We did a couple special breakfast sandwiches on the weekends. And the pizza basically came out from baguette dough that, if it was a slow day, we decided, okay, we're not going to shape any more baguettes. We're not going to do a second bake. What can we do with this dough if we don't sell it as baguettes today? So then the next day it would turn into focaccia. So I had a longer ferment. We were doing focaccia. They were like, oh, how can we add more breakfast specials? Okay, let's do flavored focaccia. So we started off, we had these little tiny focaccia rounds that we would do like marinated olives and herbs on. And then we started selling those. And we're like, okay, these are good, but how could we do this better? So then we started getting rid of like the molds that we made the focaccia in and started doing freeform. And it was like, oh, cool, this is kind of, we're making pizza now. And then like, I wanted to do it in a simpler fashion to get more bang from our like production buck. So we started doing bigger pieces. And essentially it just came from, I would make these dough rounds for focaccia. If I didn't need focaccia, then I would stretch them bigger for like a seasoned flatbread that we would try to sell for lunch. And then it just started slowly like drifting closer and closer towards pizza. And then essentially it was like, oh, this is easy. Like we should just make pizza. It should be great, because then it gave us an opportunity to like use up leftover like vegetable products that we had as like byproducts of things. We've been using like Lottie's sausage from the beginning for one of our like breakfast sandwiches. So if we had on hand extra of that, we could do a sausage pizza. So that was like one of our first like specialty ones. Is we did a white pie because we had the bechamel that we used for breakfast production. We had the sausage in house. We had the onions and peppers from some of the other breakfast offerings. So like, oh, I'm just throwing all these toppings like if they were in my fridge at home on top of a leftover piece of dough or bread, like if I was at home. But essentially it was like the way I cooked in the restaurant the first year, it kind of felt like I was just rummaging the leftovers of my cabinets at home, and we would come up with a new special. And then, you fail like 10 times and you succeed one of those times. And pizza was one of those times where I was like, oh, this is kind of good. It's got some momentum. So then, I just kind of like went back into like my savory mindset for a while to develop some really good sauces and kind of just dial in what I wanted from like when I go out to eat pizza, like what's my favorite way to have pizza. And for me, it's like crispy crust, but still like a fluffy crust, super saucy. I'm always the guy that orders like extra red sauce on the side so I can dip my pizza in it. Or I'll get a ranch or a spicy ranch, or I'll get hot sauce.
I love that y'all do that.
And then I love tons of toppings too. Like there's a time and place for pizza where it's just like very minimal, light toppings, things like that. Like a New York slice is still like something to be appreciative of. But for me, like my favorite, if I could make my own, which is what this is, it's like it hits all those marks. It's crispy, it's fluffy, it's saucy, and it's got tons of stuff on top. So the flavor is just like super, super pronounced every bite.
Mhm.
So it just developed over time and got refined over time to like exactly where we wanted it. So we figured all that stuff out, and then last year we tried that pizza program at night, which in the long run didn't really. The pizza program at night didn't work, but what it did is it gave us a ton of momentum for slices during the day, which was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cool. So it
Mhm.
kind of broadened our audience to like bring in pizza people, whereas before we were only getting bakery people. And
Right.
not to like generalize, but our prime demographic for year 1.5 was, women from the ages of like 28 to like 54. And
Yeah.
then when we brought in the pizza nights, we started getting like, you know, 26 to 38-year-old dudes that were stoned out of their minds coming in to, get
Yeah.
pizza. And then all of a sudden they'd see pastries and they're like, whoa, what is that? So
Yeah.
it was cool because the bakery broadened people into like the pizza mindset, and then the pizza mindset people came in and like broadened their horizons to like learn the
Yeah.
pastries. So like each one kind of countered each other enough to highlight and amplify the other offering, which was really cool. Um, so at the end of the year, nighttime ended up being too much labor to do the pizza, just because our pizza is not the most efficient process. So it took 3 people to do the service, regardless if we sold like 20 pies or 70 pies. So it's
Mhm.
like we made money on Friday nights, sometimes Saturday nights, but every other night we kind of lost out. So, but what it did is like it amplified our lunchtime service to now we're selling, close to 200 slices a day sometimes, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
Whereas year 1, when we started the lunchtime pizza, we maybe sold like 20.
Yeah.
So the lunchtime pizza sales is like incredible now. And it's all because we did that 1 year of nighttime and gained momentum and traction in the right areas. So we just decided to bring it back where most of the energy was in the morning and just really focus on morning times. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's such the model too works so well because my wife and I were talking about this the other day, but I feel like oftentimes when you go to get pizza, one of the things that kind of gives you hesitation is like, well, I don't want to pay for an entire pizza. I just
right.
kind of want one slice.
Yeah,
Well, most places you can't really just get one slice. And so I feel like with y'all, it works well because you can go in and get a slice and then
right.
also a pastry. And now you've got yourself a nice little lunch.
This episode is brought to you by 10x Nerds. If you're a business owner doing real revenue, there's a good chance you're overpaying in areas you haven't even looked at. Things like credit card processing, insurance, telecom, and more. 10x Nerds comes in, audits your expenses across 30 plus categories, and finds immediate savings. And here's the kicker: they only get paid if they save you money. It's a complete no brainer. If you want to keep more of what you make, go check them out at 10xnerds.com. This episode is brought to you by Rakowski Law Firm. If you're a business owner or have built a level of wealth, but you don't have your estate plan dialed in, you're exposed. Rakowski Law Firm helps families and business owners protect their assets, avoid probate, and make sure everything transfers exactly how it should. This isn't just paperwork, it's a real strategy to protect your legacy. If you haven't looked at your plan in a while or don't have one, go to rakowskilawfirm.com.
I think too the slices are kind of like personal pan pizzas from like Pizza Hut
Mm-hmm.
size too. So I think they're pretty substantial. We kind of get a lot of flack for them being priced as like a whole sandwich, but essentially it's the same weight as a sandwich bread. It's got the same amount of toppings as a sandwich would. So it's like a full meal, a slice of pizza. So it's like a slice of pizza, a salad, and a pastry, and a drink
Yep.
on the patio. Is like perfect for the summertime.
Golden.
Super casual. So again, I think a lot of this stuff is like kind of geared towards like how I like to eat or like go out to eat as well. Whereas like as I get older, I don't really care much for fine dining anymore. I just kind of want casual, to the point food.
Yeah.
There's not a bunch of confusing garnishes on it. It's just here it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to me, when I don't see the kind of like pretentiousness on the food, and then we just can focus on like customer service and also hopefully speed. It's hard when we have a ton of customers, but hopefully like the speed of service to where we can get the food out. I think we can get guest perception up super high when we hit on all our marks, right?
Totally. Yeah, I love it, dude. Obviously, y'all are, from what I've seen, incredibly busy. Like I said, every time I'm there, there's almost a line out the door. Talk to me about, so y'all started, it's been 3 or 4 years now, it sounds like. What is going well for you and your business personally? And then maybe talk about some current challenges that y'all are kind of working through as a company.
Yeah, so I think the thing that's going well is we continue to increase like our baseline revenue and sales. Um, so there's like year one, two, the slow days were like $1,000 or $2,000 in sales, and now the slow days are more like $4,000 and $5,000 in sales. So it's like we're gaining traction in all the right areas, but now it's difficult because we need a large amount of labor in order to keep up with the um, onslaught of people who are going to come on Saturdays and Sundays. Um, and so it's rough if we notice a big downturn in customers coming through on Saturday, Sundays, it really throws off our whole restaurant. But it's really hard to manage those Saturdays and Sundays, right? So it's great that we have so many people coming in, but to feed, it's like 350 customers average on Saturday and Sunday, and our service is like very busy, basically from 8 o'clock till 2 o'clock. It's like nonstop for our front of house employees to like be on that long.
Right.
And usually, if you think of a dinner service where you have, a 4 hour window of time where it's like, this is where we're open, we're busy for like maybe 2 to 3 hours of that. And then it's kind of like slow opening, slow closing.
Yeah.
And it's more spread out. It's like everyone funnels into this one point. It all hits this one point. The front of house just feels it, for 6 hours straight.
Totally.
So like the best part about the business is also like the hardest part to manage. And that's just making sure that we can do our best to make sure that all 350 of those people on weekends are coming away with like as best of an experience as we can give them, right? But again, from a tiny shop and from a small amount of people, it gets tricky. So like Saturday, it's like everyone's cranking, and then Sunday, everyone's just so tired from Saturday's onslaught that Sunday it's like a battle of willpower where you have to like power through your tiredness and continue to try to perform at a high level, right? So I think the good thing is that our sales are going the right way, and I think for the most part our team is in a good spot, and we have good camaraderie and a good morale there, and everyone's starting to buy in a little bit more as we like continue to grow this thing, and I think there's more opportunities that are showing themselves as far as like growth goes, and whether that's from a business standpoint and financial levels to just like internal growth for employees, so that I didn't want to have a place where people could work there for a year and then they get bored and then they have to go find something else. Yeah. They top out. There's nothing for me to learn here. There's no financial incentives for me to stay here. There's no opportunity for me to learn a new thing within restaurant structure. So I think it pushed us pretty quickly to a point where like we decided to choose growth so that we could continue to grow a team and grow the company. And so all of those being the positives of like what's going well is also where it's tricky and it's a struggle, because the biggest part about that is finding the right people to make all that happen, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the key right now is trying to develop like the right leadership team, and with that, it just means it's a heavier workload on the few of us that are in those leadership roles now to really dial in like, how do we train, how do we talk about food, how do
Delegate.
what does it mean to be truly offering good hospitality rather than just good service. It's like how do we connect on human levels rather than like just transactions and providing like a smooth, seamless transaction. And so it's training our front of house to give everyone those 3 minutes. So it's like you have 300 customers, but they're all frustrated because they waited in line for a long time. And then once they get to you, though, if you truly connect with them, ask them how the day's going, ask them where they're going, how they hear about us, connect with them on like a human level, get their name, and truly just like show some kind of compassion and care on that human level. Then all of a sudden you walk away and like, oh, that's why it's taken a while. They're taking their time to try to hit everyone with the same amount of care and quality, right? And then on top of that, if the food comes out great, then we win, and then they win, and it's a reciprocation of energy at that point. So that's like key number one is like just really trying to focus on training hospitality rather than just service and food quality, right? Because then everyone starts to buy in, everyone holds each other more accountable. Everything kind of starts to fall in place when you have the right people. And I think for the first couple of years, I hired out of necessity and out of like a survival mode, just because I needed some bodies, taking up roles where I couldn't physically be anymore. And then you realize that sometimes that's more detrimental to your well-being and your restaurant's well-being than just working it yourself. So I think now it's really just kind of settling into that discomfort when it happens and just hiring people based off of, are they energetically a good fit or not? Do they fit in with this culture? Are they going to align with everybody? Are they going to like add value to not only your customer's experience but to your team's experience? And so now it's kind of fun because I get to kind of become more of a coach and try to like develop a team, which is really sweet. But again, part of that, it's very hard to also let go of the things that have been very much like my vision and now coach somebody else up into those spots, maintain the vision and the quality, but then also to like add on to that and make it better still. So we're very much in that process right now, but I think that's a really good and cool spot to be in. So
yeah, absolutely. I was curious. So with you, it sounds like you and your wife, correct me if I'm wrong, you and your wife both kind of run the shop. So what does the day-to-day look like for a business owner like yourself? Obviously, I'm sure you wear a bunch of different hats, but I'm curious to know, what is it? I guess let's talk about a typical week. What does a typical week look like for you?
Yeah,
you in the restaurant actually baking and cooking, or are you more kind of, behind the curtain, all the back end details, things like that?
Unfortunately, right now it's a lot of both, not a little bit of both, but a lot of both. Right now, Mondays and Tuesdays, it's kind of catching up on emails. Tuesday, we're kind of back into the restaurant slowly, like getting breads going again, pulling pastries for the next day, kind of thing, doing orders for Wednesday. So it's kind of like admin roles Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday it's heavier focus on training. Just as it's a slower paced day, we have time to like really dive deeper into like, here's how to picking a cook in a strategic moment and saying, okay, I'm going to focus on him this week. I really need to get his sauce work up to speed so that I can have. So in a month, I can have this Wednesday and have like 2 more hours for other admin tasks so that I can work back into hopefully having Mondays off soon. So Wednesday, Thursday is more of like a training focus, halfway in admin roles. So that'll be like 3 or 4 a.m. start right now because we started the wholesale bakery not too long ago. Okay. I drive in on my way to the wholesale shop. I pick up whatever breads or pizza doughs I need to from there, drive over to the retail shop, start the morning with the pastry baker that's going on over there since like 2 a.m. each day. And then we'll get into service. All the other cooks will arrive around 5:30. We'll help do all the garnishes for the day. get into service, and then as service kind of starts to slow down, then we'll go into the admin roles, start doing whatever else needs to be done there, lining up the tasks for the week with a couple of our other like people who are in like our operations manager, getting tasks dialed in for that. And then by Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's kind of like all hands on deck in the cooking world. Just again, because we know we're going to triple our amount of business from that Wednesday, Thursday kind of scenario into Saturdays and Sundays. So Saturday, Sunday, I'm kind of like just bouncing around doing garnishes and helping with service. And my primary role on the weekends right now is just I'm making the pizzas, which is fun. But at the same time, I know it's not long term. It's not going to be the most beneficial space for me in the restaurant.
Yeah, totally.
But again, it's like we're in another round of hiring. We just had 2 of our sous chefs leave 3 weeks ago. The week after that, we had to let go one of our savory cooks. And then the wholesale bakery opened up the week after that. So we had all these transitions happening. So technically at the shop now, we're down 4 people. And then there's also another variable of the breads are in a different location and have to get driven over each morning. So right now it's very much more of like the physical labor aspect of everything. But then once things get back to dial down and we have all the right people in place, then it becomes more of just like putting people in all the right spaces kind of.
Totally.
And I was there for a little while last year, again, as we had the 2 sous chefs in place that could kind of hold things down at the restaurant. But now we're trying to, redevelop one of our cooks into a management role and then kind of restructuring, I guess, our day-to-day before we bring in another savory sous chef and seeing how I can simplify the restaurant a little bit more so I can actually have a little bit more success from like my managing team. So I think right now it's still, there's so many options. There's so many like outlets that it kind of gets tricky for anyone to come in and be like, all right, manage these 45 tasks. And they're like, that's too much. So again, I'm in the phase of my life and my career that I need to start like really dialing in the approach. A lot of people would say like setting boundaries. And it's just if I don't start doing these things, everything's going to continue to fall back on me. And eventually that's going to lead to either my burnout or a breakdown in my life. And if any of those things happen, it's going to affect the team. It's going to affect the business. So I need to learn how to like reformat and restructure everything before a fallout happens, I guess.
Yeah. Which can happen to us all. I mean, it's grinding like that will eventually catch up to you. I could be wrong. You said the wholesale bakery shop. I thought I heard through the grapevine that y'all were doing a sandwich shop next. Is that accurate or is that just rumor?
I mean, if the location was right, if the space was right, I would entertain it for sure.
Okay.
I think right now the goal is to have 5 locations in 5 years.
Okay. I was going to ask you about that.
Ideally, we want to lease our next space by the end of this year, so we could hopefully open it next year.
Okay.
But essentially,
these are going to be called GetRights, or are they going to be variations?
I think so. I think they're all going to stay same name. But what we want to have is we want to have a coffee service because right now at the shop we have a non-compete with our neighbor Stylus and Crate, so we can't sell any coffee drinks of any kind. When we first signed the lease, it seemed like it was an easier way forward, just because we didn't have to buy an espresso machine, we didn't have to hire baristas. But when you look at a bakery's, sales numbers, that's 8 to 15% of your revenue, and it's not a ton of added cost, really. So when we look at it on paper now, it's like we're missing out on quite a bit because of that, right? Also, we don't have any indoor seating, which again we struggle with if it's a snowy day. Like Friday, we were down 30% because it was snowy and cold. So if we can't use that patio out front of our shop, like we're stuck. We don't do the same numbers, not even close. And I want to have my cooks like maintain the same hours, so everything's like pretty much the same all the time, and I don't want it to fluctuate to where it impacts them. So I keep them on because I know that as long as it's good weather on Saturday, Sundays, we're we can hopefully make up for it,
Right.
Um,
Totally.
so the next locations, I want to have indoor seating. I want to have a coffee service, and I want to be able to do like our bread and pastry service in the morning with sandwiches afterwards as well. So you'll get the breakfast and lunch options
Let's
in
go.
different formats in different parts of the state. So ideally, we want to keep going west and north.
Yep. Bring it to Golden, Matt.
Yeah, so
I
we
want to
want,
see one in Golden.
yeah. So Golden would be great. West Arvada would be great. Lafayette would be great. And I don't really want to go to like South Denver or East Denver, but I also know that they would probably do well financially. I just don't like being in Denver anymore. I'm
I'm
over
right
the
there with
city,
you.
over the city. And then long term would be to create like either one of these in like Steamboat Springs or some kind of mountain town
Oh
resort.
yeah, yeah.
Just because that'd be the long term goal for like living situation is get back to the mountains and have a simpler life, because I know that at this rate that I'm going now, like I'm missing out on my kid's life. I'm missing out on my experience in life with my wife. I'm missing out on a lot of stuff that's not just professional growth.
Yeah.
And the whole point of building the business was to enhance the life outside of business, right? It's like was to grow the family, was to be able to afford a house, was to be able to have a garden at the house, whatever it was. And it's very much just like all heavy into business focus right now. So I need to just make sure that it's pushing us towards that end goal of coming back to, we wanted to have a better life experience. So it needs to just continue to like build up that life experience potential for us, right? So I think part of that is like putting yourself in the right locations to allow for that vision to actually be fruitful.
Absolutely. Matt, thank you so much for your time, man. I'll ask one final question here. We can hop off. I was curious to know if someone were to want to start a restaurant of any type. Obviously, you've got a lot of experience in the industry. What would be maybe some thoughts, advice, anything that you would want to share with someone?
Yeah, I mean, I have cooks that come through the shop that express the same thing. I think step one is like you got to be totally immersed in what you're doing right now. You can have these big dreams, but if you're not showing that in the simplest of tasks, then it's going to be very hard for you to do the bigger tasks that require that much energy and effort of you. So it's like if you're not focusing on cutting your herbs and chives perfectly small and to where it's going to have a nice garnish, or making your knife cuts clean and crisp, or cleaning your station after each set of orders goes out, to where you're striving for perfection and striving for doing things the right way every time. Eventually, every corner that you cut in your simple day-to-day is going to affect you negatively, and it's going to be exponentially more if you try to go through that next bigger step. I think that's what I liked about bread, is that if you cut corners in bread, whether you rush it or your yeast isn't right or you made a mistake, and it's going to show in the final product. And I think your business is going to do the exact same thing. To every corner that you cut, every mistake or lack of awareness that you don't own up to and say, yeah, I screwed up. I'm going to get better at that. I'm going to retry this. I'm going to do this again. Everything that you neglect is going to absolutely show up as a glaring, outcome in your results, right? So I think you got to be all in, and you got to start, in the simple things in your everyday. So it's like if you're working a 9 to 5 right now, just for 8 hours a day, you got to be all in. So give 100% to that, so you can, when you leave, you feel satisfied and good about what you did and the quality of your work. And if you can do that for someone else, then that should give you the confidence to eventually do it for yourself when it's your own money and your own time that you're, risking for yourself. So it's like right now, if you're working for someone else, this is practice. So while you're practicing, you should be you better be, not wasting the moment.
Yeah.
And living up to your potential, so that the moment you decide to take the jump for yourself, you are 100% certain you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's great advice. I love it, man. Matt, y'all are on Instagram. Any other socials, Facebook or X? Where can our audience find you guys?
I think we're on Facebook, but that's just from, the offshoot of Instagram. I don't really check that. So I apologize to typically our older crowd who responds and sends messages on Facebook. Never get responses, but Instagram we're pretty good about. So you can catch us there and reach out to us, and you will get a response most of the time.
Cool.
But yeah, otherwise stop by the shop, come talk. If you want to talk about business or life or whatever it is, like, we're absolutely open for that anytime.
Matt Dulin, thank you, brother. This was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.